All right, not to just sound totally cliche, but dominoes are starting to fall in the 2018 free agency market. None probably bigger, as at least if you're looking at somebody that's changing teams, than Case Keenum, who has signed with the Broncos. And as a Broncos fan, it's a move I actually like. If you had asked me yesterday who I thought they were going to pick up, I probably would have said Kirk Cousins, in a move I did not like. So glad to see him get Keenum. I'll bet they got him cheaper than Cousins is going to go for, and I don't think that he is a significant downgrade from Cousins. Uh,
Okay.
Thoughts on the Keenum signing in Denver?
Yeah, I do think Cousins brings a bit more to the table, especially mobility. I mean, Keenum's a pretty mobile guy too. They are similar. I do think Cousins is that next level, but Keenum's certainly not a bad consolation prize. And as the Broncos started to sense that they were getting out of the Kirk Cousins sweepstakes, it makes sense for them to just commit to this Keenum guy who does bring very similar skill set to the table. So I'm with you there. It's not an enormous downgrade by any means, especially when you consider the money at stake here. And I think fantasy-wise, it is a decent move for Keenum. I liked him better with the Vikings. I do think Diggs and Thielen are better talents. Obviously, Dalvin Cook, we always talk about as a receiving back. I think he had a better weapons cabinet with the Vikings. So I'm not going to be really going out of my way to draft Keenum in 2018. But it certainly doesn't hurt guys like Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders who've been playing with Brock Osweiler and, shitty Trevor Simeon for the last couple of years. This
Don't
brings a
forget
little bit of
Paxton Lynch.
stability.
Paxton
What's
Lynch
that?
got some starts too. Don't
Oh
forget
yeah,
him.
God awful too. So when you consider those fantasy products, they certainly get a decent stock up arrow. Demarius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, I personally got burned too hard by Demarius this year that I'll never draft his vegan soft bitch ass again. But ultimately, this can't be considered anything other than a positive. He'll have more accuracy, definitely completing more passes to him. The volume should increase significantly. The surrounding talent scores for those two go up. So a win for those two. A little bit of a downgrade for Keenum, and whoever's the running back, though, will benefit from Keenum's ability to get the ball accurately in space compared to those other weapons.
Just to be clear, I made a misstep since I forgot this is a fantasy business essentially, and I was speaking out of turn a little bit, speaking in terms of reality football when I said that I thought that I was happy with the Keenum signing. You're correct. On everything you said about fantasy, I agree with. But as far as getting wins for the money, I prefer Keenum to Cousins.
Yeah.
We're looking at the Bears, and it looks like they're going to be adding a legitimate weapon to their offense in wide receiver Allen Robinson, coming off an injury. Obviously, didn't do anything for the Jags last year. It looks like he's going to be getting 3 years, $42 million from the Chicago Bears, with $25 million of it guaranteed. Quick knee-jerk reaction thoughts to that, Wolf?
Well, clearly we talked about value holes earlier yesterday, and we mentioned the Bears as probably the biggest wide receiver value hole, one of them at least, in the market. They had no clear-cut number one guy. And Allen Robinson, for his struggles, his health woes last year and then the struggles the year before, he still has that build and is 2 years removed from a 1,500-yard, 15 TD season or 14 TDs. So, I mean, the guy can get it done. He's proven to be a legitimate wide receiver one before. And they get this guy now added. Remember, we talked to Charles Fisher earlier this offseason. He said they like guys that are big, that are physical in terms of health rich in his offense. Big, physical, can block, but can still get downfield and make all the plays. Robinson kind of checks off all those boxes, assuming he's healthy. So I'm a fan of this signing. He's going to see massive volume in a creative offense with Nagy and Helfrich. And then it obviously increases the stock of Mitch Trubisky, who we were already getting pumped about in his sophomore campaign. We think Helfrich is going to develop him really well, put him in great positions to succeed. That's a lot easier to do when you have an alpha target hog wide receiver one like Allen Robinson. So I think the fit is perfect. I think he's going to be used well. I think he's going to see great volume. And this is nothing but a positive for pretty much everyone in Chicago right now.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. Speaking of some guys that we talked about maybe signing somewhere, it really looks like it is about to happen. Sammy Watkins looks like he's about to sign with the Chiefs. Pat Mahomes maybe continuing to build an already substantial weapons cabinet. It looks like Sammy Watkins, 3 years, $48 million, $30 million guaranteed. Some of these contracts, I don't want to sound like an old man, but wow, the money for a wide receiver that really hasn't done a whole lot in his career, getting $16 million a year. I wonder if Jerry Rice made $50 million in salary in his whole career. I mean, he probably did.
Right.
But I mean, that's
right?
a lot of money. Good for you, Sammy, I guess. What do you think about that? That's got to be a plus for the Chiefs, assuming the guy stays healthy.
Oh, absolutely. Huge plus for the Chiefs. Watkins himself, it's kind of unclear exactly what this does to his fantasy value. He's going from a place where there's lots of competition for targets, but Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, now he has to contend with Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Kareem Hunt. So, I mean, the competition for targets grows even more, but he gets a quarterback, and that's the guy who's the clear winner here. And Patrick Mahomes, that has that deep ball, as good as anyone in the NFL, can buy time in the pocket for Watkins to shake free. So to me, it's kind of neutral on Watkins. I can't see him necessarily gaining huge steam with that many weapons around him, but he is going to be used better by Andy Reid. McVay just didn't really use him down the field to his best capability, and I feel like Andy Reid, we've started to see that West Coast offense evolve more vertically with Tyreek Hill last year. So Pat Mahomes, I think, fits into that even more, but he's the clear winner here. If there's anyone to really dive into, it's Pat Mahomes. I mean, now you get, like you said, stacked weapons cabinet. It already was insane with Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Kareem Hunt, and then you stir in a borderline elite deep threat in Sammy Watkins that meshes with his arm talent so well. I absolutely love Pat Mahomes. I already had him as my QB8, which was 13 spots higher than the experts in quarterback rankings. I had him in like 90s overall, which was 51 spots higher in overall rankings than the experts. So I already was pretty much all in on this guy, and now it's only further. The only negative to this signing, I would say, is maybe the experts finally wake up to how much upside Patrick Mahomes was dripping in, because he now has even more stacked weapons and his value starts to not match what it was earlier in the year, and the price matches what the upside actually is. But even then, I feel like he has all the potential makings of a top 3 fantasy quarterback. I won't rank him as such because there is obviously the chance he face plants, but with all these weapons around him, there's nothing that should stand in his way. I mean, Alex Smith, again, was the quarterback 2 with a lesser arm talent, with lesser weapons now with Sammy Watkins there. Why can't Mahomes, who's the better more natural ability, do even more with this? So I love Pat Mahomes. I think Kareem Hunt's a winner here as well, with more space to run underneath, more cushion in the receiving game, because there's going to be, again, how do you defend that? You have Hill on one side, Watkins on the other, insane speed from both guys, Kelce terrorizing the seams. I mean, how are you going to defend the Chiefs this year? It's going to be a juggernaut offense, maybe the highest scoring offense in the NFL this year, and Mahomes will be leading the charge. So I love really all the parties there, but especially Pat Mahomes in light of this.
I'd say if anybody can screw it up, Andy Reid can.
Yeah.
Drew Brees.
I will say too, in that light, I don't want to go back to the Bears real quick because we didn't mention the impact of Robinson in the running game. Just like I mentioned with Kareem Hunt, that works with Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen too. Cohen finding more space underneath to operate with a legitimate weapon outside. Howard benefiting from the run lanes being a little bit more open, more scoring chances. That helps all those factors. So, adding a wide receiver doesn't just impact the passing game. It definitely can increase the running game as well. So just wanted to throw that in there real quick.
All right, Drew Brees, who we had speculated, I think gave everybody in the NFL just like a 30, 40-second window of being like, oh, maybe Drew Brees will come to our team. We obviously knew he wasn't going to. We thought he was probably using it as a negotiation ploy. Seems like he was. He just signed a 2-year extension with the Saints. I think that's worth $50 million. Seems about right for Drew Brees. He's getting $27 million guaranteed. Not too shabby. Any thoughts on this? I mean, we thought this was coming anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty much as expected. I know we recorded last night a rumor mill that we have to now toss out that kind of had Drew Brees, maybe rumblings that he's going to go to the Vikings. Now we can erase all that, and he's locked in where we all expected him to go, where he wants to be, where they want him. And all it does is kind of keep the status quo. This offense should remain highly explosive. I do think it kind of helps Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara in the running game in the sense that Brees is on his back 9 here, and they recognized that last year, and that's why they put such a heavy emphasis on the volume to running backs. That's going to probably continue now. I do see it as, more of the same. Mike Thomas obviously benefits from the consistency. Whatever weapons they add, there's rumors that Jimmy Graham is still going to go there, so that would help Brees out. It's just more of the same in New Orleans, which is all great news for fantasy owners.
Mike Thomas, wide receiver 3 this year.
Mm-hmm.
You heard it here. All right, that's going to do it for the signings that have happened thus far. This is very, this is happening pretty much real time. So possibly by the time this gets out, there will have been more. But I'm glad we could get these to you.
Yes, big dominoes still to fall.
Yeah, still some big cliche-covered dominoes still to fall, and we'll get those to you as soon as we can.
Absolutely.